Jean Tirole, Economics for the Common Good. Dive into the intriguing world of economics and discover how our pre-existing beliefs can impact our decisions, with insights from Jean Tirole's Economics for the Common Good. Explore the need for striking a balance between the market and the state, the forces driving human behavior, and the role of economists in public policy making. Understand the importance of safeguarding innovation, managing market failures, and overcoming challenges like climate change through economic reasoning. Open your mind to the oftentimes counterintuitive nature of economics and how it can shed a fresh light on moral and practical dilemmas.
Unraveling Counterintuitive Economics. Our beliefs often influence our perception and decisions, including those related to economics. Unfortunately, this can lead us to make suboptimal choices. Economics can be counterintuitive, and understanding its principles may change our moral perspective on certain issues. While markets may appear efficient, they can fail when externalities are involved, highlighting the importance of regulation. Our decisions and views on the world are largely influenced by our beliefs, causing us to prioritize information that confirms our existing opinions. This can lead us to make less than ideal decisions, particularly when it comes to economics. Instead of evaluating evidence and basing decisions on that, we tend to apply simple rules to diverse situations, which can sometimes lead us in the wrong direction. Among other elements, economics can be counterintuitive. Take the example of an environmental non-governmental organization, NGO, working to combat poaching. When intercepting a shipment of ivory tusks, our moral instincts might lead us to assume that destroying the ivory would be the righteous action. However, economic reasoning may point us to sell the tusks instead. Why? Selling the ivory would generate funds to support the NGO's mission while simultaneously decreasing the overall value of elephant tusks by increasing their supply, thus discouraging future poaching. By considering economics principles, our moral calculations in various situations may differ significantly. However, this doesn't imply that cold rationality is the only component of economics. Markets, for example, may appear to be efficient mechanisms for allocating scarce resources. Still, they are not infallible and sometimes require intervention or regulation. One extreme example is a hypothetical market in which babies could be bought and sold, where parents act as sellers and adopters as buyers. It is conceivable that both parties could reach a mutually beneficial agreement. However, economists would argue that this situation neglects the well-being of the baby, who represents a third party bearing the exchange's cost. This is an example of an externality, a market failure that occurs when an exchange impacts a third party who cannot consent to it. Regulation aims to protect the interests of all parties involved in an exchange. Whether it's for the welfare of babies, elephants, or the environment, understanding the counterintuitive nature of economics can shed new light on various issues and guide us towards more balanced decisions. Economists tackle global challenges. Economists play crucial roles in enhancing our understanding of the world and promoting better policies by participating in public debates. They utilize tools like game theory and information theory to analyze actors' behavior and provide valuable insights on essential issues such as climate change. By understanding individual and collective decision-making, economists can make informed predictions and devise effective policy recommendations. Economists work to extend our knowledge while simultaneously striving to improve global living conditions by offering valuable insights that influence policy decisions. They often hold prominent positions in public discussions, allowing them to effectively relay their expertise and guidance. Climate change serves as a prime example of economists' involvement in pressing global issues. Understanding our designated annual carbon budget is vital for preventing widespread environmental devastation. As experts at managing budgets, economists become indispensable when seeking to efficiently allocate the carbon budget, minimize costs, and encourage responsible emissions reductions. To thoroughly analyze and address significant problems, economists utilize models for examining actors' behavior. Game theory and information theory are two particularly useful tools for this purpose. Game theory provides a framework for studying the behaviors and strategies of self-interested, interdependent actors whose decisions affect one another. It prompts us to consider both the individual and collective consequences of actors' choices. The prisoner's dilemma, depicting two prisoners independently deciding whether to betray each other, exemplifies the concepts at the core of game theory. The best decision for an individual might not be the best collective course. Information theory, meanwhile, focuses on the use of private information in decision-making. Consider a landlord possessing exclusive knowledge on his land's fertility when leasing it to a tenant farmer. Knowing its potential for substantial returns, the landlord might propose a profit-sharing contract rather than a fixed rental fee. Analyzing private information enables economists to predict individual behaviors more accurately and consequently shape well-informed policy recommendations. In essence, economists' expertise in comprehending complex global issues and offering practical solutions makes them integral players in tackling real-world challenges. By employing tools like game theory and information theory, these experts can dissect the intricacies of decision-making and adapt policies effectively. With their invaluable insights, economists continue to influence the conversation and contribute positively to our ever-evolving world. Beyond Homo economicus. The traditional Homo economicus model, featuring the idea of humans as rationally calculating decision-makers, falls short in explaining the complexity and depth of human behavior. Delving into various fields of social and human sciences, we can discover a host of other perspectives on human decision-making. Psychology introduces us to Homo psychologicus, who reveals our irrational tendencies and unearths the hidden drives that lead us to make short-term, impulsive choices. It also helps in explaining selfless behaviors that root from empathy and generosity. Sociology brings forth Homo socialis, highlighting the significance of trust in our economic transactions, and how society is built upon such values. Lastly, the understanding of rule adherence or non-compliance is facilitated by the concept of Homo juridicus, emphasizing how legal and social norms profoundly shape our conduct. By incorporating these multidisciplinary insights, we can gain a richer and more accurate understanding of human behavior and decision-making processes in economics and beyond. Balancing power, state and market. The market and the state are often seen as antagonistic forces, but in reality, they rely on each other to function optimally. Markets need competition and innovation to thrive, which in turn requires the state to provide a rule of law and protect common interests. However, both face the challenge of making informed decisions to balance the needs of various stakeholders. The dynamic relationship between the state and markets is often portrayed as a rivalry, but they both have a significant and interdependent role to play. Markets need the state to provide the rule of law, as businesses require protection and contract enforcement to function effectively. In turn, the state ensures regulatory oversight that safeguards the common good in cases of market failure. However, decision-making challenges can plague both the state and the market. In politics, the ultimate goal is to gain or maintain power through elections, but this quest can lead to distorted decision-making processes. During campaigns, politicians may exploit voter biases or make promises that are hard to deliver. For instance, committing to invest in public infrastructure might sound convincing, but the actual costs involved, including potential borrowing, could prove to be much higher. Similarly, businesses grapple with the dilemma of decision-making among their multiple stakeholders, such as investors and employees. These groups can have competing interests, and striking a balance is crucial. If investors dictate policy, they might prioritize profit margins over employee welfare, leading to job cuts. On the other hand, if employees have too much influence, short-term gains could override long-term strategies, as they focus on higher wages at the expense of reinvestment. Thus, the state and market share a delicate relationship in which they must coexist and cooperate to make well-informed decisions that consider the interests of all stakeholders. As the state provides the necessary framework for markets to thrive, it must also foster transparency and accountability, both in politics and business. By doing so, the state can help create a more balanced environment for economic growth and social welfare, while maintaining its essential role as the guardian of the common good. Overcoming climate change's tragedy. The world faces immense challenges in combating climate change due to the tragedy of the commons, a conflict between individual and collective interests. Greenhouse gas emission reductions demand global cooperation, but individual countries have little incentive to adopt costly environmental policies. This results in free riding, where countries enjoy the benefits of others' efforts without making any sacrifices themselves. Two potential solutions to overcome this issue are a global carbon tax and tradable emission permits. Both options would help drive a unified, worldwide effort in curbing harmful emissions. Climate change poses significant threats, from rising sea levels and extreme weather events to increased droughts. Despite this, policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating global warming are challenging to implement. Economists can offer valuable insights into why it's so difficult for the world to take action against climate change. The tragedy of the commons underlies the struggle to find a global solution. This concept outlines the dilemma between pursuing individual interests and the well-being of the larger community. Reducing global emissions would benefit everyone, but it requires every country to implement costly policies to switch to cleaner energy alternatives. As each nation represents only a tiny fraction of the world population, the direct benefits and incentives to enact such policies are minimal. This disparity creates an incentive to free ride, where countries avoid implementing environmentally friendly measures, hoping to benefit from others' efforts and changes. The tragedy of the commons unfolds as widespread free riding hinders collective action against climate change, rendering voluntary measures insufficient. The 1997 Kyoto Protocol exemplifies this issue. While many countries pledged to reduce emissions, others, like the United States, withdrew from the protocol or didn't ratify it, undermining collective efforts. Economists suggest two policy proposals to resolve this deadlock: a global carbon tax and tradable emission permits. A universal carbon tax would require polluters to pay a fixed price per ton of emitted carbon dioxide. Tradable emission permits would establish a global cap on greenhouse gas emissions, with governments issuing permits for limited carbon dioxide emissions. These permits could then be traded among companies. Both solutions aim to foster worldwide collaboration in tackling the daunting challenge of climate change. Europe's economic challenges. The economic uncertainty prevalent in Europe, particularly southern European countries like Greece, Spain, and France, is a cause for widespread concern. Unemployment rates are worryingly high for two primary age groups, 15 to 24-year-olds and 55 to 65-year-olds, with many experiencing prolonged periods without work. The labor market further exacerbates the problem as it offers mostly short-term, unsatisfying, and precarious jobs, with better-paying positions demanding costly training, predominantly funded by taxpayers. The adoption of the euro as a shared currency in 1999 has led to increased wages rather than productivity in southern European nations, resulting in diminished competitiveness in the worldwide market. Without the option to devalue individual currencies, finding solutions becomes more complicated. Skyrocketing private and public debt has caused high interest rates and raised concerns about these nations' ability to manage their debts. A bold solution, proposing the creation of a federal European state where risks are distributed equally among member countries, has emerged as an option in addressing these economic challenges. Unraveling the finance puzzle. Finance is a crucial aspect of any economy, serving borrowers like households, businesses, and governments. While offering vital services like providing credit and insurance against risks, it is also home to the reckless speculation that led to the 2008 global financial crisis. Securitization, or the trading of debt, is one such practice. When poorly managed, it can lead to destructive consequences, as seen when a slew of subprime mortgages caused the collapse of the financial system. Finance is an essential part of our lives, from everyday necessities like personal loans to ensuring businesses and governments thrive. At its core, finance facilitates borrowing, think of mortgages granted to otherwise incapable buyers, making the dream of homeownership a reality. However, this critical sector stretches beyond households. Businesses and governments also depend on credit access to keep their proverbial wheels turning. Without borrowing and lending, the global economy would come to a screeching halt. Another vital service that finance provides is insurance against various risks. Imagine an organization like Airbus, whose earnings are predominantly in dollars while expenses are paid in euros. It's subjected to vulnerability from sudden fluctuations in currency exchange rates. To minimize the impact of these unpredictable financial shifts, companies turn to insurance, a crucial safety net that shields them from significant monetary losses. Nonetheless, the financial industry's darker side cannot be ignored. The chaos and devastation of the 2008 financial crisis emerged from unchecked financial speculation. One primary cause was securitization, a strategy that pools different kinds of debt and sells it to third parties. For instance, banks might sell mortgages to other banks to diversify their portfolio or reinvest their assets. In theory, trading loans is essential, providing banks the means to spread risk and maintain a balanced asset distribution. But herein lies the catch: when banks know they can offload mortgages onto other parties, their lending standards may become much more lax. That's exactly what transpired in the lead-up to the 2008 crisis. A significant number of mortgages were given to individuals who couldn't repay their debt. When this reality surfaced, panic ensued, with people realizing the worthlessness of their so-called assets. This mass hysteria led to the collapse of the financial system, bankrupting banks and destabilizing the global economy in one catastrophic swoop. So, the world of finance remains a double-edged sword, indispensable yet risky, where striking the right balance between safeguarding and speculation is crucial. The state and market symbiosis. The state and market have a yin and yang relationship in economic life, due to their interconnected and complementary roles. The state functions within the market by procuring goods and services, while also serving to set the parameters of the market economy through permits and licenses. By acting as a referee, the state ensures that economic forces are regulated and dominant players do not exploit their power. The market contributes by promoting open competition, affordability, and innovation, which are crucial to economic welfare. In the intricate dance of economic life, the state and market play vital roles that harmoniously intertwine. The state, though seemingly paradoxical, is at the heart of all market economies, as it fulfills three critical functions. Firstly, the state acts as a significant purchaser of goods and services, whether for public infrastructure development or the operation of essential facilities like hospitals. This role has a ripple effect, stimulating competition among suppliers and boosting the overall economy. Secondly, the state occupies a distinct position above the market, acting as the ultimate legislative and executive authority. By granting permits and licenses for various industries, from taxi services to air travel, the state sets the framework for a functioning market economy. Additionally, the state serves as the market's referee. By monitoring economic forces, it intervenes as necessary to ensure a level playing field and prevent dominant players from abusing their power, thereby safeguarding the entire system. On the other side of the coin, the market's key contribution to civilized economies is through open competition in free markets. This has a plethora of benefits that the state alone cannot provide. One such advantage is affordability. Monopolies can impose exorbitant prices due to captive customers with no alternatives. Competition compels suppliers to entice consumers by lowering prices, working to the benefit of those consumers. This competitive drive also sparks a cycle of innovation and efficiency. As suppliers seek ways to reduce costs and maintain their advantage, industries become more effective, which ultimately fuels better products and services for the public. The fluidity of the market and the steadiness of the state converge to create a vibrant, thriving economic landscape. Building trust in digital economy. The digital economy thrives on two-sided markets, where buyers and sellers interact through platforms like Amazon and Apple's iTunes. However, the key to success is trust, as we rely on these companies to protect our personal data. With numerous incidents of data breaches, trust can be re-established through appropriate legislation that protects users against one-sided clauses, similar to how the offline world operates, wherein terms of use are strictly limited. In the age of smartphones and the internet, the digital economy has taken center stage, fueled by platforms that connect buyers and sellers. These platforms are known as two-sided markets, allowing easy access to goods and services from all around the globe. Not only do these digital marketplaces make transactions convenient, but they also act as regulators, ensuring fairness, smoothness, and sometimes even controlling prices. However, beneath the convenience of the digital world lies a significant challenge: trust. For these platforms to function effectively, users need to have faith that their personal data will be secure. But how can we be sure of a website's safety when data breaches are becoming increasingly common? Even reputable companies like Target, Home Depot, and Anthem have suffered massive credit card theft in the past. In addition to hacking incidents, many websites require users to agree to ambiguous and potentially unfair terms of use. This combination makes trust a hard-to-achieve aspect within the digital economy. To re-establish trust, a viable solution is to implement legislation that protects users from one-sided clauses and harmful agreements. Interestingly, such protective measures already exist in the offline world. For instance, consider parking lots. When you leave your car, you agree to the property owner's terms of use. However, these terms are strictly limited, preventing the owner from misusing your car in any way. In conclusion, the digital economy and its two-sided markets hold tremendous potential for global trade and convenience. However, for these platforms to work and grow, users must have confidence in their security measures and terms of use. By implementing legislation inspired by offline protective laws, trust can be rebuilt in the digital world, promoting a healthy and thriving digital economy. Guarding innovation, striking the balance. Retaining innovation as the driving force of the economy is critical, and intellectual property rights play a key role in ensuring progress. Contrary to the assumption that open access to innovations would benefit all, free riding becomes a pressing issue as it discourages investments in research and development. Intellectual property rights ensure innovators can profit from their work, motivating their continuous efforts. While alternative methods, such as public competitions and patent pools, have been explored, striking a balance between encouraging competition and cooperation is crucial in preserving the unpredictable nature of innovation. Innovation fuels the economy, propelling us forward by constantly invigorating economic growth. However, to keep this momentum, intellectual property rights are essential. One might assume that making innovations freely accessible to all would lead to collective progress, yet the reality is far from it. The concern of free riding arises, whereby individuals would exploit open resources without investing their time and effort in research and development, stunting the growth of innovation. It is crucial to protect the financial interests of innovators by ensuring they can benefit from their work. This security promises a reward for their perseverance, incentivizing their ongoing dedication to their research. Intellectual property rights provide the backbone for this by granting innovators the exclusive rights to market and profit from their creations. While intellectual property rights remain paramount, governments have experimented with different models to encourage innovation, such as public competitions in Britain and France during the 17th and 18th centuries. This method promoted competition among innovators, but it inadvertently limited the unpredictable nature of progress due to the necessity for predefined judging criteria. Businesses have also ventured into alternative approaches like patent pools, allowing firms in the same industry to cooperate while competing, known as competition. This method aims to reduce the cost of innovation by granting access to shared patents. Ultimately, striking the right balance between competition and cooperation is vital in protecting the unpredictable essence of innovation while preventing free riding and ensuring continuous progress.
Jean Tirole's Economics for the Common Good offers an enlightening look into the intricacies of economic decision-making and the importance of striking a balance between the forces of the market and the state. This book's summary reveals how our preconceived beliefs can impact our judgments and stresses the need to embrace economic reasoning, even when it's counterintuitive. As we saw with climate change and intellectual property, economists play a crucial role in policy making, constantly striving to contribute to global well-being. Reflecting on these insights will empower readers to better navigate moral and practical dilemmas, and appreciate the overarching benefits economics can bring to society.